Hi, I'm Sarah from the School of Self-Reliance, and today we're back in the kitchen. I'm going to show you how to make a 3-ingredient farmer's cheese today. You can do this at home very easily. You don't need a cheese press or Rennet liquid or lipase powder or anything that you would need to make hard and soft cheeses. They're a little more complicated and have more complex flavors. This is a simple farmer's cheese. It's very soft and easy to make. You can blend different ingredients into it to give it flavor, like herbs. If you want to put some, ground sage or garlic or maybe some onion or chives or something in there, you could do that. Or you could make it, sweet instead of savory and go with, some jams or jellies mixed into it or some other pureed fruit. But anyway, I'm going to show you what you need to make this. This is very, very simple. All you need to go get is a gallon of whole milk. Now this is whole milk, not skim, not 2%, fat-free or anything like that. It's got to have the fat in it to make the cheese. That way it will separate into curds and whey, because curds is what you make your cheese out of. You can either use one whole lemon and microwave it for like 10 seconds and roll it out on the counter and squeeze it to get the juice. Or you can just use lemon juice, which is what I have here, because you need acid to help separate the fat from the milk. You're going to need a pinch of salt. I'm using Himalayan pink salt today, so it doesn't have any iodine in it. Doesn't have any anti-caking agents in it. It's just pure Himalayan pink salt that I've ground down. I'm going to put a pinch of that in there. And then you need some cheesecloth. You need to make it a nice big pot to put on your stove, like I have back here. And you're going to need a strainer to put your cheesecloth in, or a sieve if you have one, because after we heat this milk up, we're going to pour it through a sieve to separate the whey from the curds. So let's get started. Okay, all I've done here is I've poured the entire gallon of milk into my pot on my stove, and I've turned my heat to a medium heat because we're going to heat this milk up. And we need to heat it on medium heat, not high, and you want to make sure you keep stirring so you don't scorch the bottom of the milk and get a burnt flavor to your cheese. So we're going to let this go for a little bit. All you need, like I said, was a gallon of milk. And then while it's heating up, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Now, this isn't like a tablespoon or a teaspoon or anything of salt. It said a pinch. So I'm just going to put a pinch in there. I usually go one little nice little pinch of it. I'm going to sprinkle it in. And maybe put an extra little tiny small smidgen in. Depends on how much salt you like. If you're watching your salt intake, you can put less. But if you like a little bit more, tang and zip to your cheese and that taste flavor, you can always add just a touch more salt, and it's not going to hurt anything. Just don't go overboard, because you don't want a really salty cheese. That'll make you pucker. So while this is warming up, all I'm going to do is stir and keep an eye on it. Okay, all I'm doing here is I'm just stirring while the cheese is warming up. Well, my milk, rather. It's not quite cheese yet, but we're working on it. So I'm just keeping it kind of on a medium heat. This is kind of a slow process, and it's going to take several minutes to do this. So don't get in a hurry and try and turn your heat up, because you'll scorch your milk, and that leads to a burned taste, and it's nasty, and you ruin your cheese. So it's gonna take several minutes. It could even take up to an hour, depending on if you got good electric heat or if you're cooking with the gas. So just be patient, stir, let it heat slowly. You want to bring it to just as it starts a low simmer. You don't want to bring it to a rolling boil, because again that will scald the milk and then cause it to taste burned. So you want to heat it just to where it starts to maybe bubble a little bit. Then we're going to cut the heat off, and I'll show you what to do after that. So stay tuned. I'm just going to keep stirring while it's warming up. We're still stirring, so stay patient. It takes a little while. While you're doing the stirring and letting it warm up, you can take your cheesecloth, nice, fresh, clean cheesecloth. Don't use, stuff that's all stained up and nasty and dirty. Cheesecloth, you can get it in cotton. Mine's cotton cheesecloth. They also make hemp cheesecloth. You can find it online if you're into, buying hemp products. But mine's just cotton. For a couple dollars, they usually come in a plastic bag. Save your milk container that you poured, because we'll put the whey in here, and you can save your whey later for fermenting and making like yogurt and other things with whey, stock, soup, creaming up soups and stuff with whey. A lot of people save whey. once they've made cheese. So don't throw out your jug. You can put your whey back in there and put it back in the refrigerator. But all I've done over here by my sink is I have gotten another little pot with my strainer, and I've lined it with cheesecloth. So, and I'm going to set it over my pot. That way when I get ready to strain my milk, once it's warmed up, I'll strain it through here, and my cheesecloth will catch my curds, and the whey will go into the bottom pot that I can save for later. And then I have a piece, you can get a piece of rope, piece of twine, whatever you got. You need a piece of rope, because we'll end up tying up that cheesecloth and letting it drain over the sink. So that's what I have going on over here. And we are still stirring. So just stay tuned, and we will be back with you in just a few minutes. So keep letting your milk warm up, keep stirring it, keep an eye on it. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're getting really, really close now. I'm going to try and move the camera a little closer for you. But yeah, we're getting really, really close now. It's starting to really heat up inside the pot, and I'm going to keep stirring, so I'm not going to scorch the bottom. And as soon as it just starts to boil, and then I'm going to cut the heat off. And when they say in the recipe, okay, your first ingredient was your gallon of milk, your second ingredient was your pinch of salt, and your third ingredient, it says the juice of 1 large lemon. Well, I don't have any lemons, but I have lemon juice, and that works just as good. So 1 large lemon is equivalent to about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice after I cut the heat off. We're almost to that point. I'm going to keep stirring a little bit more. Starting to see steam rising on my pot, so I know it's going to be close to getting to the boiling point where I can turn the heat off so I don't scorch my milk. I'm just going to keep stirring for a few more minutes. My lemon juice, I'm going to make sure I shake it up really, really well so that it's not separated in the bottle, which sometimes happens. I'm going to measure out 3 tablespoons. And I'm just using a small measuring cup. You can use measuring spoons if you have them. I'm just going to have that set aside, ready to go for when I'm ready. We're still stirring, so we're getting closer to having milk ready to turn into cheese. Now, as I was saying earlier about once we put the lemon juice in it, it curdles, and then we go to strain it, the whey can be used for several things. I mean, some people use the whey and they'll take it and freeze it and then use it later on in baking recipes that call for milk or water, because you can use whey to replace those in like biscuits or pancakes, muffins, cornbread, different baking recipes. You can use whey in there. This whey, there's usually 2 types of whey when you're making cheeses that you have left over. This one is going to be an acid whey because we're using an acid. Lemon juice is an acid. Some recipes call for vinegar for making cheese, and so that makes an acid whey, and it's not so good if you're going to use it to try and make yogurt or something sweet. You need a sweet whey. Sweet whey is made from when you made like harder cheeses and other soft cheeses like mozzarella that call for Rennet. You can buy Rennet on the internet from a cheese making supply company. Sometimes you can find it in stores. Amish and Mennonite communities usually have Rennet because they make their own cheese a lot of times. All I've used here is just regular cow's milk, but if you like goat milk will give a little more tang to it when you make it. So it really doesn't matter which milk you use. Just make sure it's whole milk so it still has a high fat content. That whey, I'm going to save my whey, and I'm going to end up freezing it. You can find recipes online for acid whey and then turning it into ricotta cheese, because ricotta has that kind of acidy, tangy taste, especially if you like making lasagna or other Italian recipes that call for ricotta cheese. You could turn your whey into ricotta cheese after you're done making farmer's cheese. So that's another idea. Some people like to use the whey, even if it's acid whey, to lacto ferment their sauerkraut or pickles or other type of vegetables. Some people use it to make kombucha, if you like to make that and drink it. So it's wait, it's pretty versatile, so don't necessarily just throw it out and pour it down the drain. Back on the farm, the family farm, a lot of times spoiled milk products or whey or things like that, if they're not used in recipes or things that we were using them for, sometimes use them to slop the hogs. So if you got puppy dogs, your dogs, they like whey over their kibble. It makes a nice gravy. So there's lots of uses for whey. You don't have to necessarily just pour it out and throw it away. So alright, we're at the point now where I'm starting to get a little bit of foam on top because my milk is finally getting to where it's getting close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off and come over here and try and show you what everything looks like, because when I add the acid it's going to start to curdle. So, alright, what I got going on here in the pot, my milk is starting to cook. I got it foaming a little bit. It's real close to needing to boil. We're just about at that tipping point. You know, and as with any recipe, when you start out, you always want to start out with clean utensils, clean pots, clean hands. We're getting real close. All I've been doing is heating this on medium heat. It's taken about 30 minutes to kind of get to this point, at least on my electric stove. It'll probably go faster if you're cooking with gas. Just about there. It's foaming up a little bit. You know, if you're interested in getting into cheese making, there's lots of books out there you can get online or at your local bookstore. You can even check out books at your library if you have a library near you, and learn about cheese making. You can order a lot of your cheese making supplies online, but this one I'm showing you is just because this one's real simple. You can get everything at the grocery store if needed, or if you're on a farm and you got your own lemons and your own, you know, goats or cows to milk. Makes it, and everybody's got salt in their kitchen. It makes it a really easy recipe to do at home. Another one that you can get the kids involved with. You get a little bit older kids who are more conscious about stirring and not burning themselves. They could get up here and stir the pot. And if you got little ones, they could help you measure out your lemon juice. They could help pour the milk at the beginning before anything gets hot. You know, but anything to get in the kitchen with your little guys and teach them a new skill. Just about there. Cooking on medium heat is slow, and it is time consuming, and it requires patience, so don't rush it. It'll be worth it. Okay, still at that little frothy point, just about boiling. You can see down in there pretty good, I hope. If you've ever made a homemade custard with, you know, sugar, vanilla, milk, eggs, and a little bit of flour or cornstarch, that milk smell that we have going right now smells kind of like making a homemade custard or pudding. It smells really, really good. Sometimes you can just stop stirring for a minute, kind of see if it's at the point where it's going to boil. going to give this just another minute of heating up, and then I'll come back and show you adding our lemon juice to it to make it curdle. Be right back. Okay, our milk is starting to boil. As you're seeing, it's frothing up, and we don't want it to overflow, so we're going to cut that heat off. Kind of wave off a little bit of steam, and we're going to pour 3 tablespoons of lemon juice in there to let it start curdling. You can see how much foam there was bubbling up. It's kind of a good indicator that we're done. Alright, I'm going to take my spoon out and let it curdle. I mean, you can kind of see it already starting to curdle, starting to get little chunks. See? Curdles. Isn't that awesome? Just that easy. See, and this is something if you homeschool you can do with your kids too, and teach them about making curds and whey and properties of milk and fat. Lots of curds already starting to form. So, full curdle process takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So, I'm gonna get my spoon out of here now. I gave it a little stir just to make sure everything's on the bottom is all stirred up in there. And we're gonna give it about 10-15 minutes to finish curdling, and I will show you what it looks like when I come back in about 10-15 minutes. Okay guys, it's been I don't know, maybe 12 minutes, so somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. And you can see I've got nice curds in here, and you can see the kind of the yellowish, real watery thin liquid. That's the whey. There's my curds. And we're going to come over here. I'm going to set the camera up so you can see me pour it through the cheesecloth in my strainer. But this is all you have to do with cheese. This is ready to make cheese. We now have curds and whey. It's no longer milk. It is ready to be made into cheese. And if you ever wondered why cheese costs so much in the grocery store when you're buying it, you'll see when we pour this off, though, that it takes a lot of milk to make just a little cheese. So this 1 gallon is not going to give us a ton of cheese, but it will give us some cheese. Okay, all I've done over here is I've moved my pot from the hot stove. I brought it over here and set it on a dish towel. I set my clean pot that I'm going to catch the whey in, and with a strainer and cheesecloth down here so I can pour. That's all I'm going to do is pour this. Be careful to go nice and slow. Make sure you're hitting the cheesecloth, and so you don't splatter and hit yourself with it, because these curds and whey are still hot. They just came off the stove, so don't burn yourself. See all those beautiful curds down in there? So all I'm going to do is scrape the pot out. Get the rest of the curds are kind of stuck down in there. Set my pot back down. Now my strainer I'm going to gently lift up. I don't know if you can see it. See if I can get you zoomed in a little better. Okay. Hope you can see better, but I'm going to lift that up. See all that whey under there? It's a lot of whey. We're not going to throw that out. We're going to save that. And actually here in a minute I'm going to dump most of that back into a separate container so I can keep it. Like I said, all the uses I told you about earlier that you can use it for. But I'm letting my cheese drain from the whey, the curds. I'm just going to set it on top of this pot and let it finish draining. It's going to take quite a little while to drain. So all I did was set my strainer back on top of my pot over here and just let it go ahead and finish draining. It's going to drain for a while. Once it finishes draining, that cheesecloth I'm going to take and kind of bundle up into like a little sack. I'm going to take a piece of twine or rope, go around my cheesecloth so it kind of forms a nice ball, and then I'm going to hang it from my sink. I'm going to tie it on here and let it hang and keep dripping. And the last little bit that it drips out can go down the sink. That's not worth trying to catch unless you're being, you know, anal retentive about it. But we got the majority of the way here, and that's more than enough for us to use for other projects. So we'll be right back. All I'm doing here is I'm saving my whey and putting it back in that milk jug. Being careful not to burn myself. I'm using a funnel. It's just, honestly, it's a funnel that I got out of the auto aisle, or the car aisle, for oil changing at my local store. I bought a brand new one so it wasn't dirty or nasty, and I use this for cooking, and I pour, you know, sugar and soup and all kinds of stuff through my funnel, so love my funnel. Alright, so out of that jug of milk, that's how much whey we have left. So you can see, out of a whole gallon, only this much is used for making cheese. That much was actually the fat content of whole milk. So you can tell it takes a lot of milk to make a little bit of cheese. So our cheese is still over here draining, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to attempt to do this on camera and pull this cheese out without, one, spilling it, and two, burning myself. I've got another piece of cheesecloth that I'm laying separate. Just like that. And I'm going to make a cross, or a lowercase T, with my cheesecloth. And the reason I'm doing that is so that this side fine is going to pull up, but this side didn't have any supports. Now it does have support. So I'm going to take this and kind of bundle it up into a little ball package like this. You can see there's still whey coming out of it. Show you. Right over here. I'll let it finish draining. It's still hot, so don't burn yourself. Do you see how much is still coming out? I'm going to give it a little twist. And I'm going to tie my rope on it. All I've done is tie that up really good around the neck of it. If you're worried, go around one more time. A couple knots, a couple gray knots is all you need. You don't need a fancy knot or anything. Granny knot will work, square knot will work. And all I'm going to do is tie this bad boy up here. To my sink. And I'm going to keep letting it drain. And you see a bunch of it still coming out. If you really want to catch that, you can put a bowl under there and catch that if you're going to use it a lot. Here's a little rinse. Wipe down the counter just a little bit. Alright, so there you have it. You've got a homemade farmer's cheese. I'm just going to let this thing sit for several hours until it finishes draining. When it's no longer dripping, and when you squeeze it a little bit, it doesn't drip anymore whey, then you're all done. And all you got to do is you can leave it bound in the cheesecloth if you'd like to help it keep its shape, and put it in a Ziploc baggie or wrap it up in some saran wrap, and then stick it in your refrigerator. If you don't want it to stay in the cheesecloth, you can always take out cheesecloth and put it in a Ziploc. That's fine, but that's some homemade farmer's cheese, and you can find different recipes for use of farmer's cheese on the internet. I've used it in lasagna and different pasta Italian recipes. It's really good stuff. So really easy, really quick, didn't take that long. Your longest part is just heating your milk on the stove. So that's 20-30 minutes, maybe up to an hour depending on how cold your milk was when you started. I let my milk kind of warm up a little bit to room temperature before I put it in the pan. That way it wasn't just ice cold out of the freezer or the fridge. But that's something you can do. Speaking of freezers, if you ever buy milk and put it in the freezer, you know that when you pull it on thaw, milk does, it kind of feels like it's separated and doesn't taste and flow as smooth as regular milk for drinking. It's great for baking, it's great for cheese making. So if you got frozen milk, don't throw it away. Use it for cheese, use it for making baking, putting in, you know, your baked goods, fresh rolls or fresh bread. So that's farmer's cheese, easy three ingredient recipe. So I'm Sarah from the School of Self-Reliance. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can sign up for our classes. We teach all kinds of different survival and prepper classes. Find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, visit our blog and our website. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.